I think my approach with older dogs would be to look at it, on a case-by-case basis, but to really first have the owner understand that there are limitations when you have an older dog. So, there's the saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, and I said there really is no age cutoff. But as dogs age, just as people age, their patience level drops. And so as the dog is becoming less patient when it's getting older, one, it's not as open to new things as a puppy is. And its patience level to learning these things is limited. So yes, you can change your dog's behavior, but you might want to have realistic expectations as to really how far you can go with that. There are some dogs which, for whatever reason or another, maybe an owner just never felt it was important or they didn't have time to teach the dog basic commands. Maybe it's a command such as the off command, and now the dog is older and you've just come to the end of your rope with this dog jumping on you. So then maybe I would do some sessions with a basic command such as off. Or maybe the dog is jumping because it's so impatient because it was never taught the stay command. Maybe I'd go back with that dog and teach the dog to lie down and to stay for periods of time, a few minutes at a time, building patience. So it really depends on what the situation calls for. I have many families who come to me with dogs who are not necessarily old, but they may be a few years old already, and they just never were taught housebreaking correctly. And people will call me and say, I should have done this a long time ago, and it's finally driving me crazy. What can we do? And then, yes, we might actually have to go back and do some retraining, believe it or not, around the dog's housebreaking habits. Aggression is a common one. Specifically, possession or food aggression is a very common problem that you see. And you often see that if you're going to see it. Certainly it's not a common thing in dogs. It's a problem that creeps up. It's more prevalent in male dogs, and especially male dogs who love to eat. That would be a situation where I might go in and employ what I call a nothing in life is free program. That's a phrase that a lot of dog trainers and behaviorists use. And what that really means is, just like for us, there's really no such thing as a free lunch. And with your dog, it can be very helpful to, from the get-go, or really at any time, to make that dog realize that it's not in charge. He's not in charge of his assets. For instance, his food, his toys, even affection, or going out. He needs to work to get what he wants. And that is a very, very important thing for a dog in helping that dog view the owner as the one who's in charge. Because often what happens with dogs that have aggression around food or objects is that dog just sees itself as being in control. And in some way it feels threatened that these wonderful things, usually it's the toys, the bones, are going to be just snatched away. So that even ties in to initial puppy training, especially if you have children, to make sure that when you're doing socializing, that you spend time with the dog when it is chewing a bone or it has a toy or it's eating, that you are touching the dog, from a very young age while it's engaging in those things. So the dog starts to see that as normal. And teaching the dog the drop it command, for instance, which is something that we would work on in my program. So that you don't get to that point where later on you have an older dog who is now an adult and feels adult-like and feels more independent than a puppy would, who all of a sudden is challenging its owner because of these types of issues.